what a civil society would want, what the people would want.
Well, there's a lot that has been said about strengthening the judiciary, ensuring its impartiality. The Asian Development Bank has given Pakistan a $360 million loan called the Access to Justice Program loan. And it's supposed to bring about structural reform within the system, and that not just the judiciary, the police as well. But at the same time, in the Sindh Assembly, they are talking about legitimizing the jirga. So what they're saying here is that we will put in a bill and we'll have a parallel justice system in Sindh. So you'll have the courts, the civil court system and the criminal court system, and you'll have the jirgas running in tandem. How is that going to work? I mean, does it make any sense to you?
Is it likely to pass in the Assembly? Does anybody think that?
I am sure it's likely to pass.
Because it's the same people who support the jirga system who are also sitting in assemblies.
Beneficiaries of that system.
Also, I'd like to say that the reason why the jirga system has become stronger is precisely because our formal judicial system has failed.
Yes.
And is continuing to become worse. So that is one of the reasons why this jirga system has come up. If we could talk about strengthening our formal judicial system instead of talking about giving more and more powers to the jirgas, that is one way to tackle the problem. In fact, that is the only way to tackle the problems. I don't think that jirgas have any place in a society like Pakistan, or in fact in a society anywhere, because you cannot have 2 or 3 different kinds of systems of justice operating at the same time. And in fact, that is what is happening right across the country right now. We have our constitutional laws on the one hand, then we have our so-called Sharia laws that General Ziaul Haq introduced. In addition, we have Sharia laws as Muslims understand them and follow them. Then we have customary laws. Then we have normative behavior, and there is an interplay of these laws to an extent that they are interpreted in a way that have the worst consequences for women, and where there are plenty of loopholes where men and those in power can escape by quoting one against another. And this is precisely what the jirga system is exploiting right now.
The other thing, coming back to what you're saying, is that we not only have these laws, but we also have court systems that work with these laws. We have, you have the regular courts, then you have the Shariat courts, then you have special tribunals. And in the tribally administered areas in the north, the jirga is completely legitimate.
Yeah,
and
it is.
To legitimize it now in Sindh is an anathema.
In the Punjab, you have the panchayats, which perform
Which
exactly
is
the same function. Yeah.
No, but in Sindh, the High Court has already decreed that jirga system is illegal.
Until they pass a bill, and then
unless they pass a bill, then I think we should talk about it when the bill is passed and debated upon.
I
but
think
for
the
time
will
being,
be passed
See,
for
but the point
talking.
is-
but at present, the jirgas are illegal as per the orders of the High Court.
Yes, but they're still
Yeah.
happening.
So if
That
they're
tells
if they're
us-
illegal and they're happening, and Iqbal Haider sat here last week at this table and he said that in the Chief Minister's house jirgas are being held. Now, if the Chief Minister of the province is doing that, then what
But the
is...
Chief Minister denied that. He said that it was a consultation, it wasn't a jirga.
It's kind of splitting hair here now.
Well, I can't...
He's playing nice words.
He-
But what I'm saying is that, if you have this, we need to talk about it now. We need to stop it before it happens, is exactly what you
because
said.
it might be too late. If it passes, then what's the recourse? And then the fight to rescind it might be too long.
Yeah, I think when it will come up for debate in the Assembly, there will be a lot of people who will be talking about the various aspects of that, and I really can't...
But it's like the honor killing law. It came up for debate in the Assembly. It was steamrolled through. I mean, we all know what a bad piece of legislation it is. It doesn't work well.
I don't think it's a bad piece of
It doesn't
legislation.
work well.
It's a step forward. You can always have amendments into it, but I don't think it's a retrogressive step. It's a step forward. You have something now. They have talked about various things in that. They've enhanced the punishment, and they've built. I'm sure the various activists and political parties, they are talking about certain weaknesses or certain lacunas in the legislation. But what I'm saying is that we should look at the positive aspect of it. Now, from nowhere, about 20 years ago, nobody was even willing to talk about these things. So today we have a legislation which has the enhanced punishment there, and then there will be no compromise during the time when it will be the case will be going on, and things like that. They are there. So it's a positive step. Rather than looking at it from that point of view, let's not look at the weaknesses and at the lacunas and that it's a bad step by the government. Why shouldn't we look at it positively?
Even if we look at it positively, I think now we have to look at the weaknesses and the lacunas and sort them out, because that would be the second positive thing to do. We're going to take a short break now, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Don't go away. Welcome back. We were talking about jirgas and violence and unpleasant things, so let's continue on with the unpleasantness of life. Extrajudicial killings and sectarian violence has been on the rise. I mean, they apparently, according to a survey, over 1,500 people have been killed this year in Pakistan because of sectarian violence. Now, this cannot possibly inspire investor confidence in the country. It cannot possibly inspire anyone to come here as a tourist. So what is being done to deal with this problem?
Well, I think it's not true that the violence is on the increase. I cannot talk for the whole country because I don't have the information on that. But I can certainly speak for Sindh province and for Karachi in particular. I think if you look at the number of cases that the police has been able to successfully detect, investigate, and take them to the logical conclusion, our conviction rate has improved tremendously over the last 2 years. And in this year, except for the 2 incidents that we had in the mosques, in the Shia mosque, we have not had any targeted killings this year. Hardly any, I think, except
they
for
tried to blow
one or
up the
two.
corps commander.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, but it has been successfully investigated. It's been investigated, the people have been arrested, and they are being tried, and I think they have also been convicted also, if I'm mistaken. But you know, that is the important aspect of it. Similarly, the other cases have been successfully, except for one Shamzai case, most of the other cases have been detected. But look at the number of the cases when the professionals were being targeted, when the doctors and the engineers and the other people were being targeted. It has reduced tremendously in the last 1 year.
Can I ask why? Why do you think violence has gone down, if it has gone down?
It has gone down because of the efforts of the law enforcement agencies that we have been able to track down, and then not only track down, but successfully get those people convicted. And we have been able to totally smash some of the gangs who are operating in this particular area. That's the sectarian and anti-government activity and the state activities, like the activists of Al-Qaeda. And there has been generally all over the country we have had these operations launched, and we have been successful. So that has reduced I think the incident of crime in this.
I have a question. How much of this violence is motivated politically? Now, when I say politically, I mean our own internal politics. I'm not thinking of Al-Qaeda or global politics.
No, I don't think so. It's got much relevance with the internal politics. I think it's mostly Al-Qaeda related, and number 2 with the banned outfits, these religious outfits which were there who have been banned, like LJ and Sipai Muhammad and others. Their activists have been arrested from time to time in Quetta, in the Quetta incident, in Karachi incident, in the Lahore incident, and Multan. And if you see all around, all these people have been associated either with Al-Qaeda or with these banned organizations.
But these organizations were banned about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And it went quiet for a little while, but it picked up again. I mean, this year there was a reasonable amount of rumbling across the country, not just in Karachi or in Sindh, but definitely in the Punjab, also in Balochistan. There have been bombs, there have been attacks on mosques, and sectarian groups have been targeted. So, you know, the ban didn't work that well, I feel.
You know, if you look at the global picture, you have to look at it globally, because when you talk of Al-Qaeda, you talk of it globally. You have seen number of incidents in Saudi Arabia. You have seen incidents in Spain. You have seen incidents elsewhere. And so in Egypt recently,
But
you
Spain
had
was
one.
the Basque, the Basque